Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be Power Book 2 Ghost, Episode 5, Coming Home to Roost. Let's get into it. So subscribe to the channel, like the video. This is the mid-break season finale. Power will resume in 2 weeks from now and continue, and then it'll lead into Tommy series or whatever. But this was a good break before the break, rather good episode before the break. So you had Tariq with his sister's hearing coming up. He had to get an apartment. Monet is pulling strings, and of course you got Professor Carrie Milgram is placing pressure on Lauren to use the wire and get information, and they're really doing this illegally because she should have representation in this matter, but she's young and scared or whatever, so they will her in. But this is going to all backfire, especially on Professor Milgram. This is going to backfire on her eventually because she's too eager and she's not covering her steps. And Investigator Tate, he's really done solved the case, but he ain't got no proof. So his theory on what happened is legit, but he don't have no proof to back his story. So of course Zeke is back, and Zeke was cleared, and Monet dropped Zeke back off at campus. He happy he was cleared. He wanted to get back to playing. Ev is kind of disappointed because when Zeke was gone, he pulled more of a lead role where he can potentially get into the draft. Now that Zeke back, he'll take a slide back and get in the second round. So he's telling this to Drew, and so when Zeke comes knock on Ev's door, he sees Drew's there and like pretty much like, "What you doing here?" And of course he don't know that Ev is intimate with Drew or whatever. So they pretty much remember that incident that happened at the club, and so they got Zeke kind of like goofy with it, so he just brushed it off, and that was the case with that. Meanwhile, Monet approached Tariq, pretty much telling him, you never told me about Professor Jabbar. Now you gotta prove yourself. I need you to find out who Kane's connect was. So of course Kane is plotting on Tariq, and so he shows up to school, and of course Tariq's not there, but Braden's there, and Braden pretty much brushing Kane off, pretty much saying he don't know where Tariq is. Meanwhile, Lauren shows up. Of course, Lauren got the wire, and everybody's suspecting Braden, but they get Kane on the wiretap showing himself there. Meanwhile, Tariq is speaking with the lawyer that's overseeing this state from the dad, and he's pretty much saying, "I need you to represent me to get my sister." And so he pretty much told him, by tomorrow, by 3 o'clock, is the hearing. I represent you. You're gonna need that show that you got proof of residency. So he don't have proof of residency, and so Lauren steps up to the plate. Lauren's brother that was in rehab had an apartment. The family gave her the keys, and she wanted to give the keys to Tariq. So she really showing she down, and she coming to him in his lowest moments to show she down for him, and that's gonna be key. So he's really in a triangle with Effie, Lauren, and Diana, and I think he's growing closer to Diana and Lauren or whatever. So nevertheless, she gives him the apartment, and she already had the papers written out for a lease to him. So she was already on top of it. Now, this is season 2, but really and theoretically in the show, this is only happening. This is still the first semester of college, so this is like, this ain't, you know, what I mean, it ain't even. They should have did a little time jump where this next season, but this is all in the first uh year of college, and so you got this going on, and he shows up. Well, when he went to follow Kane to find out who Kane's connect is, he gets to the address where Kane was with Mecca, and he's telling Kane, but then Mecca's boy is telling Reek, and pretty much push up on Reek, and then put Reek's face in the camera, and of course Kane said he didn't know who he was, so Mecca's boy that's always running his mouth pretty much beat Reek down and took his phone. So we finally got to see Tariq, like the running theme online for Power is that how Reek don't got his own car. He keep getting dropped off, and they make a point to say, get back from here. They make little jokes within the dialogue on the show. So Lauren let Reek use his car, use her car, and so that's how he was able to trail King. And so when he got beat up by Mecca's boy took his phone. He left and went to Monet's house, and Diana and them came and greeted him outside, helped him get inside the house. When he looked over, he seen Ed dropping Drew off or whatever. So he's peeping that. So while he was there, he shows up the next day for the apartment. He didn't get the apartment. This is when Lauren introduced him to get the apartment. So he's all beat up. He shows to the hearing with his sister, shows he got proof for residency, and then the judge awarded him to get the residency. So before he got into the hearing with his sister, Monet showed up and pretty much told him, because Kane approached her like, yo, that's messed up. You had Tariq follow me. You could have got us both killed. And you make sure you get him his phone. He got a hearing with his sister tomorrow at 3. So she showed up pretty much telling him, you gonna miss your hearing with your sister. You gonna lose your sister just like I almost lost Zeke. And I gotta let you know that I'm in full control. So he stood there, and he, you know, for a minute there looked like, oh, like, come on, man. Like, they got you too much over like a pushover. Then he started talking and stuff and pretty much told her, like, you really on the island by yourself. You think you could do this by yourself? You need me. And pretty much told her that Kane switched out the work for Sugar so he could become the connect to get back in the family. Pretty much saying Drew is still messing with the basketball player that you told him stop messing with. Pretty much said Diana was the one that took the money to pay, that took the money out of the restaurant. So you pretty much don't, you on the island by yourself. Everybody doing everything underneath your nose. So when he said that to her, she started to reflect, and she let him go or whatever. Meanwhile, after the hearing, Tariq thinking he good, Investigator Tate shows up to the school, and this is where he finds Ramirez's badge. Now, we don't know who desk that was that he was that they got in, but evidently it was Tariq's, because that's who they locked up. And so everybody got to see Tariq locked up in front of the whole school. Now, where this is not going to look good at, because Tariq's dad was locked up for the case or whatever, and now they're going after his son. So it's really gonna look bad at the cops when they can't find him guilty. He gonna get exonerated. Obviously, he gonna get exonerated. So when it's gonna look real bad, and for Investigator Tate, Carrie, and the other detective, he didn't want to go St. Patrick's route, but they kind of forced his hand. So nevertheless, when Tariq got locked up, he's all beat up in the jail. The lawyer that is overseeing the state showed up and basically said, I wish I didn't have to come give you this letter, but this letter is from your dad. If I was supposed to show up here if you ever got locked up for homicide. And so the ghost left a letter for Tariq basically saying, I knew you would end up in here you deserve it, you know, or whatever. And that was it. Meanwhile, when he was getting walked out by the cops, you seen Braden looking and Lauren looking, and she's upset. And Professor Milgram's pretty much saying, you need to let him go. He deserve it. So you see her hate, but she's gonna get hers. So we got obviously start calling the countdown for Milgram to get X'd out the series. So that was it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. It was a decent episode. Till next time.